Hi, Sean Huxter here again. Welcome down the Mighty Max rabbit hole. Today we're going to start Series 2 Horror Heads. With the Horror Head reviews, I've been doing 2 at a time, since they're not as detailed as Doom Zones. And I have to say that I only have 4 of the Series 2 Horror Heads, because there are 4 that are so rare and expensive that I am never going to get them. So the 4 that I will review, I will do 2 at a time, and we start today with Mighty Max Hounds Werewolf and Mighty Max Hammers Axeman. Let's start with Axeman. So let's do the comic book. Each one comes with a comic strip. Horror Heads only come with like one row of panels. In Mighty Max Hammers Axeman, Mighty Max teleports into Axeman's lair, I guess, and says, "Wow, you're ugly." And Axeman immediately says, "Better and better, 2 victims will fall to the blades of Axeman." So he's just basically a serial killer. He does not seem to have a motive other than killing people. However, he does say he wants revenge for centuries of torment. So perhaps he's been like this for centuries. I mean, look at him. He's just like this horrible zombie-like guy. The worst thing is he's got all these sticks sticking out of his head. And this maybe causes him like intense pain. I don't know how the sticks got there. You're never going to know that. It's not in the story. But maybe the centuries of revenge for torment is because somebody, maybe humans, did this to him, and now he's out to get humans. Because in the comic book, he already has one victim chained up against the wall, and Max comes in and plays the second victim. Then Max is chained to the wall. He pulls out the chain. I guess the hat makes him strong as well as allows him to teleport. He swings the chain, grabs the axe of the Axeman, and pushes him out the window to, I guess, to his death. And that is the story. Let's do the head. So we have this ugly green head with brown sticks. It's really a bit of a mess. I mean, it's beautiful, really, when you think about the carving. But look at it. There's half of his teeth are broken, and there's this thing sticking out. That is you'll see in a second. I'm not going to spoil it. You'll see in a second. Purple teeth, green skin, blood coming out where sticks are just impaled throughout his entire skull, and these 2 wild eyes. Now, one of the eyes is part of, as always, parts of the interior become parts of the exterior. This eye is part of a surprising feature, really, because not all Max sets have a feature on the outside that interacts. This one does. This has an axe blade that when you pull this down, swings. And the eye is the hinge of the axe, the swinging axe. And now the other eye, let's open them up, is attached to his head. So this is the eye that becomes part of the exterior from the interior. And what is this thing? Well, it is the chainsaw of Axeman. What? Chainsaw, Axeman. Okay, let's explain. This is Axeman. And obviously he's the same guy. But instead of an axe, he's wielding a chainsaw, which is not true. He's got an axe on his belt. And that is shown in the story, actually. You see it swinging off his belt. And this is the axe that Max wraps the chain around and pushes him out the window through. But during this, he actually has a chainsaw. So we'll put him aside for a moment. And then we have the axe itself. And we have a Max, again, Series 2, randomly packed Series 2 Mighty Max. This one just happens to have the lantern. There are 2 footholds for Max on the bottom of the base. Actually, there's 3 now that I see it. One is here at the very bottom, right next to the axe. And the axe, I mean, if he was, man, I got to tell you, this guy's in tight. So if he wasn't in so tight, the axe could knock him over and slice his head off, kind of, which is cool. There's a hatch right here with another foothold. And again, if you place him here and swing the axe can knock him over, which is kind of cool. That's fun play. And then in amongst this machinery, it definitely looks like silvered machinery and parts. There's a 3rd foothold, and this is the one where you place Max for storage, because you can close the oh yeah, right. You can close the head, but you got to have the axe over here. If the axe is down here, it prevents the head from closing, so the axe has to be here. But Max can store in there. So let's look at the set itself. The bottom is pretty detailed. There's all these little broken boards. There's a hatch right here. moving the axe out of the way. You see tree trunks. This is the trunk of the tree that forms this axe here. The branches form an axe, and you can see he's taped or roped axe blades to this tree trunk. Why there's an eye there, I just wouldn't be able to tell you. And let's look up top. In the story, he already has one victim trapped, and this is him. That's a pretty elaborately painted character for the inside of one of these sets. I mean, he's made of 3 separate colors, if you don't include the chains, which are silver. That's 4 colors. And then up here you have basically brick walls. You're inside some sort of bricked up dungeon, and there are holes in the window. And I imagine this window, although it's square in the comic book, this must be the window that Max throws the Axeman out of. And the Axeman himself, wearing purple pants. He's got blades all around his belt, and he's carrying this mad, sick chainsaw. And we place him back in his set, like so. And as I said before, you make sure the axe is not down here, but is up here. And you close the lid. And that is Mighty Max Hammer's Axeman. Moving on to the second one, Mighty Max Hounds Werewolf. In the story, Max is already trapped inside a werewolf's cage, locked in. But he manages to escape. He uses a bone to throw at the werewolf's 2 hounds, where the werewolf happens to have 2 hounds as companions. And Max escapes, runs outside to the graveyard. The werewolf sicks his hounds on him. The 2 hounds chase him. Max pushes the werewolf into an open grave with the 2 hounds and then knocks over a headstone, sealing them into the grave. That's the story. Pretty basic. Like I said, these stories are very simple. And they're mostly there just to, kind of prompt imaginative play. You don't have to follow the story or whatever. You can do whatever you like. So here's the sculpt. And again, you've seen a lot of sculpts in Max that use fur and hair, and that you can tell so they're very well sculpted. It's like every individual hair is carved. You've got a nose here with nostrils that are actually open. Green teeth. This is something I find in a few sets. There's green teeth or unusually colored teeth. But this one, these are bright green, and there's blood all over them. Pretty much the same all the way around. Hair details. You get this hair crop here. And you have these sick eyes, these bloodshot eyes. Again, as all Mighty Max sets, parts of the interior become part of the exterior. The eyes are no different here, and these ears are part of the interior, and I'll show you those in a minute. And so let's open them up. Sometimes these are a little bit hard to open. So here we go. Now you open them up, and the first thing you see is the cage. But what's this? There's the 2 hounds. The 2 hounds are the werewolf's companions, and they are individually sculpted dogs, certainly vicious dogs. They look almost like they've been werewolf themselves or something, but each weirdly has a wing on its back or something. And these form the ears of the werewolf. And they're 2 differently sculpted hounds. One sits up and one is sort of walking. And when you put them together, they meet face to face in the set to make these ears stick out. And we'll get to that in a second. And what else do we have? So here we have the metal cage that Max is trapped in. The teeth and the tongue which stick out, forming the part of the interior part forming part of the exterior. But they don't really do anything other than that. And then you have, let's open up the cage. So why is there a bloodied eye on the cage? Well, it turns out that the eye is actually a skull. It's kind of hard to see, but it's a skull. Come on, focus in. And it's a skull with a bloodied top and a black hole, like somebody's been, like some blade has gone down through the skull and killed this person. And now, inside this cage, which just pops off, is Mighty Max. Happened to be another Mighty Max with a lantern, that's fine. Another Series 2 Mighty Max. Let's have a look at the shell itself, the compact, the case, the head. So, what we have is a darkened cemetery setting. You've got stairs up here. You've got a broken cross here. Now, in the story, Max tips over a standard headstone onto the grave that he pushes the werewolf and his hounds down into. This one, it looks like they might be playing on that because this cross is broken off, is on the ground. There are also bones here, trees, but you're definitely in a stone graveyard. And here's a foothold for Max, and this is where Max stands when the set's closed to keep him safe. But the weird thing is, inside the grave, there's another foothold. It's hard to tell, but it's definitely Mac's foothold. It's the same shape as feet, but it's like it's been carved and then sort of covered up roughly because they didn't want Mac's being sealed in here, probably because the cage isn't tall enough and you could break the Mac's if you push the cage down too high. Anyway, that's kind of a strange thing to have happen. I've never seen that before. But Mac's has one foothold. But now let's look out the top. This is a castle, clearly. There's a cage here, or I guess almost like a portcullis, a cage door into some sort of cavern under the castle. You've got stairs leading up. You've got this floor here. And I think this must be the exterior of the castle because there's another headstone. This is very much like the headstone that he pushes over the grave and seals in the werewolf and his hounds. And trees here, and more or less just stone details. You know, as if most horror heads, there's not a lot of function, not a lot of detail. And I think I've basically shown you the whole lot. So let's put Mac's back in his case, in his foothold. Oh, you know what? Will he... I don't think he can stay there. No, he has to be in here to close the set because the cage has to close over him. And if you put him here, there's no room for the wolves. So you have to put hound number 1 here. And see, it's very difficult to do because they're very slippery. These are solid plastic and they're not any kind of soft plastic. But you place the two here side by side, and their negative space is perfect. They fit into each other perfectly once you figure out exactly where they're going, like there. And because they move around a bit, you have to delicately close the head. When you do, it seals those ears in. When you click that down, those ears are solid. They're locked in place. Well, that's all really I can tell you about this one. This is Mighty Mac's Hounds Werewolf. So that's the first 2 of the Series 2 horror heads I'm going to review. And the next 2 will be Corpus and Lockjaw. And the other 4, don't look for reviews from me because I can't afford them. They're very expensive. They're rare, hard to find. I've seen them going for multiple hundreds of dollars a piece. Certainly one of them, the cheapest I've seen one of them go for is well over $100. So it's unlikely I'm going to review those. Unless somebody gifts them to me, I'm not going to see them. But for now, Sean Huckster out. Welcome to the Mighty Mac's Rabbit Hole, and please join me for my next video coming up fairly soon. Bye.